Texans at Colts, Monday Night Football. Marco, what should bettors be looking at?
Well, anybody that watched the first meeting this year, and it was a nationally televised game, opening Sunday, they saw that the Colts totally outgained Houston in this first meeting, but lost. So I think the public is going to expect Peyton Manning. There's no way he's going to lose 2 times in the same year to the Houston Texans.
So we got the revenge factor, especially against a team that the Colts had dominated. But here's the thing, with that expectation, it seems to me the line is perhaps a little short.
The line is definitely short. If you just go from week 1, RJ, and do the natural flip for home field, we say it's 3 points as the starting point. This game should be 7.
Okay, because the Colts were -1, and now the line's only 4 points different. Instead of the 6-point switch that would take us to Colts 7, there's been a 2 or a 4-point switch, which means that they're saying that Houston is a net 2 points better now over the Colts than they were in week 1. Now, in your power rankings, how has the relative stock of these teams changed?
There's definitely a little bit of a drop because of the Colts with the injury to Dallas Clark. But Houston, to me, was a team that everybody talked about was one of the dark horses possibly this year. And they did beat them in that first game. But since then, they have not gone up the ladder.
So you're saying Colts are down a little bit?
Right.
And you're saying Houston is at least down the same amount, if not a little bit more, in your power rankings.
Right, because their defense has gotten them into trouble, many times this year. In their last game that they won, and by the way, both teams are coming off a bye, so a lot of preparation time. And if you've got 2 weeks to prepare, I think that's a much bigger edge for a guy like Peyton Manning, who's a guy that's in the film room all the time as it is to begin with. Given 2 weeks, they're going to be ready for this game. That is one edge to them.
Okay, so what you're saying is that the Colts at 5 look really juicy, which usually if it's a juicy hamburger or something, you're on it. But if it's a juicy pick, what do you do?
Now, this is a situation that this falls into the trap category for me. The public is going to look, and this is a second meeting. They're going to look at that first game and say the Colts really outplayed them but lost. A couple turnovers, situation, 463 yardage to 355 in that game.
Okay, so I think we're repeating ourselves. So I think you did very well laying out the groundwork here that everything together makes it where the Colts probably should be laying 7. They're laying 5, which makes it juicy for the public. And what do you do in those spots?
I go with what I think Vegas is trying to entice you to do.
Is play the Colts.
I go the opposite. And that means I'm going to side to the Houston Texans plus the points here, because getting Peyton Manning on, again, we talk about this a primetime game, so you got more people playing, which automatically is going to just get some bets on Peyton because of the
so the bigger the betting pool, the more public the betting pool, and the betting pool is a lot of these guys might not even really know about these injuries and all that. They're saying Peyton Manning in prime time against a team he seems to always beat with revenge. I'm laying less than a touchdown.
Yeah. Interesting stat, you've alluded to it already, that the Colts dominate Houston. They're 15-2 straight up, but they're only 10-7 against the spread. That's a pretty good disparity for a team that you beat all the time. That Houston's actually the moneymaker against the spread against.
So Houston's 10 wins. So Houston is actually plus money against the Colts against the spread. Interesting. Now here's my question: Texans also 7 of 8 ATS as a road dog, so they travel well. Here's my question though: sometimes bets are just to me so obvious. And I think sometimes it's almost like if you flop a full house and you just should bet. A lot of people get tricky and check rate, but you really, poker 101 is you got a good hand, you bet. To me, it's the same thing with sports betting. If you have an obvious spot, until the lines maker adjusts for it in some extreme way, why not bet it? And to me, I looked at the fading the Cowboys the last couple of weeks. This is a team that's just proven itself not to be a very good team, laying 3.5, last week to the Giants, who some people think is the best team in the NFC. So 10 of 11 games between the Colts and the Texans have gone over. You got Manning, you got Schaub, is that how you say his name? And 10 of 11 have gone over. Why not just play the over? What's the total?
Total on this game is 49.5. And Monday Night Football this year, pretty much they've all been overs.
I mean, I guess the question is has it been adjusted enough that the value isn't there? I don't really think so, though that's a high number. Maybe it's just that simple. It's these two teams can't stop each other. And if one team gets down, the other one's going to, by 21, the other one's going to be able to score late. Why not just go over?
So I will throw out a number for you, and I actually did a blog on it this week. You can check it out at Pregame Blogs about last week's over-unders, and it's going to be something that's worth watching. Since we had the rule change about the hard hits, last week 10 of 14 games went over the total. And they went way over the total.
You make a good point. I saw this stat on TV. This was the second highest scoring week in the history of football, or since 1980 or whatever. So I think that it's a combination of a couple hits that the defenses aren't laying, but also the fact they're in their own heads thinking about it, which is making them maybe a quarter step slow in a couple spots.
Right. In the perfect plays that comes across is those plays across the middle where you're lining the guy up to lay him out. If you're hesitating now, the receiver's catching that ball. He can make one little half spin move and turn a 7 or 9 yard pass play into a 30-yard
So, unfortunately, we're talking about this in the last video of the week, but a lot of people actually watch them all before the weekend. You're going to be looking towards the over.
It's a pattern. I'm going to be very cautious in taking unders in the NFL for the next couple of weeks.
And I thought you did a good job on that. And on your Twitter, you've got Marco in Vegas is your Twitter handle, and mine is RJ in Vegas, and we both put out some good stuff. Okay, so what's your official projection?
I'm going to have Indy winning this game, but I think this is going to be a shootout, go down to the final possession. I have Indy 27-24, so I'm going to grab the points with the Houston Texans.
All right, good stuff. Real quick, I'll give you 90 seconds on this second matchup of the year here, one of the first second matchups this NFL season. What are the one or two key factors you look at in a second matchup?
Well, we actually already talked about it, but I look at what the line was in the first meeting.
So the relative adjustment home and away of the line, and is it
in regards to public perception of it.
Okay.
And when I think that it's off, I am going to look to the other side because I think Vegas is setting up, especially when the team looks like they can get the revenge. The revenging team, if the line's short on the revenging team, I'm always going to be looking to that road dog in a second meeting.
Okay. All right. Because what you're saying is the public believes in revenge, and the public believes in taking the attractive number, and when you have a team that's laying an attractive number and has revenge, if it's too attractive, you think it's a trap.
Right. And you said the statement, we said it, you said it before air, people will look at a guy like Peyton Manning and say in their head, he can't lose to this team twice.
And he is great on prime time. It does scare me. All right, now it's your turn to continue the conversation in the comment section with Marco and me. And that's it for this week. And we're going to be back next week with 8 more football games, with 8 more free picks, and 2 more best bets. See you then.